Hello everyone and welcome back to Red Sky Media. My name is Kellen and this week we've got a bit of a Christmas themed episode of things we brought online going on for you. So let's get into it. The item we're going to be looking at is this, the Neewer Shoulder Rig mounting system. So we thought we'd change this episode up a little bit and we'll head off shortly to an outdoor location and we'll give this thing a proper test. But straight away, it doesn't come like this, you do have to put it together. It came in a big box, like so, filled with lots of little boxes that say filming equipment all over them. So we've taken it all out and we've put it together as best as we can. But this is basically what it looks like at the end. Obviously it's quite light. Without obviously your camera gear on there, it's going to be heavier once you pop that on there. We are going to go do some proper tests with it in a second, so I'm just very quickly going to run through. You've got a counterweight, you've got a shoulder pad for it to obviously rest on your shoulder, got a standard kind of quick release plate, got a nice little rig setup that you can hold, lift around, and then obviously you've also got the mat box on the front. I think it's quite flimsy, it's plastic, it's not great. And then if I spin it around that way, it's a bit of a pain to hold this. You've also got, I'll pop it there, a little follow focus system here too on the side. So that's everything that comes with it. Let's head off to our woodland location and give it a proper test. Hey guys, so here we are in the outside location now. We've come to a really nice woods here to test out this big shoulder rig for the day. So on here I've got a Canon M50, a Viltrox speed adapter or speed booster, and then we've got a Samyang 35mm cinema lens. On top as well we've obviously got a little ND filter on there. Now straight away it's quite heavy. Obviously this is all made of metal. Although I can hold it in one hand, it does still weigh quite a lot, and I imagine if it's going to be sat on your shoulder all day, you are going to get a little bit tired after a while. Having it obviously with both hands makes a big difference, and it makes it a lot easier to hold. But again, obviously if you're going to be adjusting this follow focus, then you have to go one-handed, and it's a little bit kind of trickier there. In terms of obviously the mat box, I said it earlier, it's quite cheap. It's just plastic, it's not great quality, but it's still a little added extra. The handles themselves are quite sturdy. I feel like I can obviously hold it quite easily, lift it up and down, move it. This is quite nice when you're walking with it and you don't want it on your shoulder. The actual padding is fairly decent too, so when it's on your shoulder there's no pain, it feels quite comfortable. I would like it perhaps to be a little bit better coming forward this way, just because it slides quite easily, so unless I push it all the way to the back or all the way to the forward, but then obviously my face could smack into that, you don't, it is a little bit, needs almost like a little bit more friction there. You've got this little thing on here as well, the spirit level, which obviously lets you kind of balance everything, which is quite nice. But overall, yeah, apart from obviously a couple of things I've mentioned, it's quite a nice item straight away. It feels sturdy enough, it's solid, it's all metal, and it's fairly easy to hold, apart from obviously the weight, but that's something that can't really be helped. That's something, really put it on a tree there. That's something that's obviously the same with all kind of camera stabilizers and big heavy rigs and so on. Alright, so now we're going to take this camera, we're going to have a little walk around, film some bits, and we're just going to give this shoulder rig a really good test. As you can see behind me, it's very hilly. There's a lot of bumps, so it's really unsmooth kind of terrain, and it's going to be quite a challenge for obviously moving around with this. So it's going to be a really good test to see how stable and how good of a stabilizer this shoulder rig actually is. Let's go.
My mind is a minefield. Watch your step, that's not a threat, no. My heart is a house of cards. They had those
So there we have it, a little bit of a montage and some clips from actually using this. So obviously impressions straight away, as I'm sure you could tell in the clips that we're using this, it's not very stable, unfortunately. There is always a kind of tendency with shoulder rigs anyway, when you move, when you actually walk, you get that little bounce a little bit. That's no matter how expensive or how good the kind of shoulder rig, you will always have that. It's the same with kind of other stabilizers, unless you kind of go gimbal glide cams and they're perfectly balanced, you're always going to get that little bit of movement. Something like this that's obviously on the cheaper side for a shoulder rig, it doesn't negate that movement as much as you would get with the more expensive one, so it's more obvious, it's more kind of profound that it's there. As I said, like when you move, obviously every time I step forward, there is that little bounce, you can see it there with the camera. No matter how, obviously if I hold it still, there's still a bounce in my arms. I'm obviously, unless literally holding it like this and shuffling like that, there's always going to be a kind of movement in the camera. You will always have that slight bounce, and obviously normally it can be negated if you film in a higher resolution and then you obviously crop it in. So if you film in 4K and then crop it in and obviously maybe slow it down a little bit or something, you're not going to see it very much. So there are a couple of ways around it, but overall, yeah, I think the cheap kind of price reflects a little bit more in the bounce and the kind of movement that you see when you're obviously using this and you see the footage. But that's it from us here. It's freezing cold, you can't see, but Hallam's wrapped up like a snowman behind us in the multiple coats and hoods. My eyes are watering, and even with gloves and coats on, it's still not enough. So we're going to run back to the studio before we freeze to death, so we'll see you there. Alright, we are back in the studio. We have warmed up and my hands have returned to a normal colour too, so happy days. We're going to do quickly, I know I just kind of spoke about it a lot in the woods, so I'll just gloss over it quickly. Some final thoughts on this shoulder rig and obviously what it's capable of, and a couple of closing thoughts. So obviously we spoke about the mat locks, we spoke about everything. There is one thing I haven't said, which is obviously that you can just undo these very easily. I won't undo them properly, but if you do undo them, you can obviously slide this top handle off. I could take this off. You can really move this around. You could shorten it, lengthen it, and make it how you like it. I really like that. I think it's a great feature, and I think when you go to build out rigs as well, so we slap a monitor up here, get some lights, get some mics. Obviously if you've got a too big camera body, just take this side bit off. So it's really useful and practical in that sense. I really do like that. I like how it all comes together. Material wise, grips are good. That's not going anywhere. Is it a nice item? Yes. Is it nice? Does it look professional when you rock up to a shoot with this massive thing? Yes. People looking and they're like, wow, you're the real deal. Does it make the footage the real deal though? Not quite. It doesn't do enough for me to justify its price tag. How much did I pay for it? I paid £130, which would be $150, $160. I'll put it on the screen here just because I'm not entirely sure without googling it first. But that's how much it costs in dollars. And £130. No, I don't think it's worth it at all. I think for that price point, you can buy gimbals for £150, £200 second hand. The benefits you get from a gimbal are just so much greater. It's more stable footage. This hat's really itchy, by the way. I hope you appreciate me trying to wear it for you guys. It's just more stable footage. It's just easier to hold. It's not this massive shoulder rig. You can just pop it on there, move it around, one-handed, two-handed. Obviously you get follow focus systems for gimbals now too, and overall I think for the kind of person this is aimed at, which is that budget beginner filmmaker starting to make their next step up towards more professional, I just feel like it would be bigger and more beneficial if you're in that scenario for you to go and get a gimbal, even something like a monopod or tripod. It's going to do the same thing really. All you get with a shoulder rig is the bonus of being able to move, and like, I mean, we showed in the videos there, it's so wavy and bumpy, and unless you're going to go out and spend thousands of pounds on a high quality shoulder rig, I don't think you're going to get rid of those bumps necessarily, but a gimbal will, and it's easy to balance a gimbal with a bit of practice. Throw that in there before I get comments saying I've wasted hours of my life. We've all been there. But yeah, I think a gimbal is the better choice, to be honest, if you're looking around this kind of item, around this budget. Save your money, save a little bit extra, add to it, and go for a gimbal. But that is my closing thoughts on the Neewer Shoulder Rig. Overall a nice item, a little bit expensive, and I do think there are better options out there if you can stretch your budget a little bit further. But that is it for today's video, and that is exactly what we do here on Things We Brought Online. We get a product, we test it out for you guys, and we let you know what we think here, showing you negatives, positives and all of that. So that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed. Consider subscribing too to stay up to date with all of our latest videos, including some new episodes of Things We Brought Online with the Speed Booster and the Samyang T1.5 35mm cinema lens that were in today's video. As well, they were paired with the Canon M50, so stay tuned for reviews on them too. And as always, the best way to do that is to turn on notifications and subscribe so you never miss a video. From all of us here at Red Sky Media, we hope you have a wonderful Christmas, and despite obviously everything that's going on in the world, we hope you're still able to celebrate with friends, family and have a wonderful time. So from all of us, Merry Christmas, hope you have a wonderful time, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.